Welcome back to another message crawler update. Today I want to talk about the various Google import types that message crawler supports. So let's go to my screen and talk about that. All right, we got message crawler here and I'm going to go to import. And what I'm looking at is the new version 6.10, which contains number of different imports that support Google exports. So the one I used to have here used to be called just Google MBOX, or it just said MBOX. Now it's Google MBOX/PST because we can load MBOX files as well as PST files. However, I do want to talk about some of the things that are happening here. So first, as you see here, we should have an XML file that comes with your MBOX. That's really going to help with extra metadata as well as threading. If you don't have it, I think it's going to be okay, but you may have to check the threading carefully to make sure everything gets broken down correctly. Next, we need to talk about how attachments are being linked with their messages, which seem to be a problem with Google with all their formats. So what happens is we have an email in the MBOX that contains multiple messages. And inside each message, or whichever has attachment, there is a name of the file that that message references. And then the whole message itself contains all the attachments on top. So think of like an MSG, right? If you open an Outlook, you will have a list of messages with names and attachments. And then your real attachments section would just have all the file names listed. So we need a way to connect those attachments that are mentioned inside the message to the ones that's actually attached. And the way message crawler is going to do that is use file name. That's the only way to do it. So there are two problems with it. One is file name may not be found for whatever reason, which is fine. You know, we're going to sort of skip that if we can't find the file, moving on, right? But the other thing what could happen is we can find more than one file, which is going to be really bad. So if we have image.jpg, image.jpg mentioned in two messages, that means we don't really know which one of these attachments goes with which message. So what message crawler is going to do is it's going to skip them, right? And then once it's done parsing all the messages in the conversation, it's going to say, okay, which attachments haven't been used before, right? Which ones didn't get associated with anything? And it's going to take all those attachments, it's going to generate a dummy message, and then it's going to attach them all there. So if you have multiple versions of a file, or if you have sort of a discrepancy between the file name that's referenced in the message body versus what's attached, well, it's not going to be found, but then it will be exported at the end of the conversation into a brand new dummy message. So that's the best way I found to deal with this situation. There is also option for PST. I just started testing it, so I labeled it as beta. It has less metadata. It's a little bit different than MBOX. Theoretically, it should work. I do recommend using MBOX with XML. That'll give you best option. Now, if you're not comfortable with this whole parsing thing and reconnecting things, there's honestly nothing wrong with just processing MBOX files into your processing tool as is, because messages are already threaded. So presentation is a little bit worse. You have less control, but it's not terrible. Now, the other option I have here for Google is for JSON, right? And what we can do is load Google JSON. However, it suffers from a similar problem. You have attachments listed in a JSON, and then the files that are saved in the folder don't always have the same name. So if you have, like we talked about before, say image.jpg, image.jpg multiple times, well, in a JSON, it will be listed as image.jpg, right? But in the folder, it's going to be image 1, image 2, image 3 for all the duplicates. So you actually don't have the exact link between your JSON and your file. And because of that, well, we're going to follow exactly same logic. We're going to take those attachments that we're not sure what to do with, and we're just going to stick them at the end, and that's it. It's really weird that this problem exists. As a programmer, I would think how hard would it be to, generate a file name and then use that path to write the file to. But apparently it's a really common problem. The new item that I added here, Amazing, suffers from exact same problem. The file name isn't stored properly in a load file, and you have to concatenate multiple fields together, and it kind of finds it, but it's got about 99% success rate. So I don't know why it's so difficult to just write the actual path to the JSON to say this is the file. You have to have some kind of concatenation and interpolation and interpretation, whatever the fancy words are. But basically, that's the update on Google JSON as well as Google MBOX and PST. These parsing methods are not perfect. If you don't feel comfortable using it, I'm not going to blame you. Just process it as is, or you can load it and see how it looks and then make a decision there. So that's it. That's my update on new features for Google MBOX, PST, and JSON parsing. Thank you for checking out this update. I will see you on another.